Some films were harmed in the making of this podcast. Hello and welcome back for another episode of For Your Consideration, the podcast featuring roundtable discussions reevaluating the cinematic canon of past masterpieces and modern classics. I'm Mike Josick.
And I'm Dustin Friesenan.
Thanks for joining us. This week on the show, we're going to be covering the 1935 Alfred Hitchcock thriller, The 39 Steps.
AKA that movie with a Canadian citizen helping a German spy save British secrets out in Scotland. It's not actually as exciting as that sounds. Or is it? I don't even know.
We'll have to wait for the film commentary to determine that. Before we get to that, though, I just want to cover a little bit of below-the-lines stuff. We've been encouraging listeners to leave feedback and join the conversation. We had some comments on our Star Wars episode that we released a few weeks ago. The comments came from listeners Jeff Mack and Bryce Ashley Holcomb. They seem to focus primarily on The Empire Strikes Back, despite the episode focus being 1977 Star Wars. But
I guess that just means that maybe next May 4th we'll have to hit Empire.
I think that's probably a foregone conclusion. But in their commenting, they did both agree that Star Wars was worthy of recognition, and I don't think there was a lot of disagreement or desire to strike it from the list. So thanks, Jeff and Bryce, for leaving your feedback. Also, we've been encouraging people to try out our polls, which we've been posting after every episode. Do you consider X film the greatest film of all time? 100% of respondents on the Star Wars poll have said yes.
All one of them.
All one respondents to the Star Wars poll agreed that Star Wars should be included as one of the greatest films of all time. So one vote is better than no votes, and it's definitely 100% better than any of our previous.
But it's still 2 against 1. Was it?
Oh yeah, you voted Star Wars off the island, man.
I did. I'm a tough cookie.
So that makes it 3 against 1.
That makes it 3 against 1.
The odds are stacking against you, Dustin.
Bring it on.
I also just wanted to mention that downloads have gone up in the last few weeks. I think Star Wars actually gave us a nice bump. And it's just good to see that people are checking us out. And if you're enjoying the show, share with your cinephile friends, spread the word. The whole point is to get people talking about movies, watching movies, and I think that's great that the metrics are good. So, The 39 Steps was directed by Alfred Hitchcock, produced by Michael Buchan. Screenplay was by Charles Bennett and Ian Hay. It was based on the novel The 39 Steps, starred Robert Donat, Madeleine Carroll, Lucia Mannheim, and Godfrey Turrell. Music was by Jack Beaver and Louis Levy. Cinematography was by Bernard Knowles, and it was edited by Derek N. Twist. It was distributed by Gaumont British Distribution and released on June 6th, 1935, and August 2nd, 1935 in the USA. The film ranks number 4 on the BFI's Top 100 list of greatest British films of all time. And with that, we turn it to you, Dustin. What did you think of The 39 Steps?
I've seen some Hitchcock movies before, which is so I actually get to compare and contrast a little bit. But this one was definitely not quite up to Hitchcock par as far as I'm concerned. Not a terrible movie, but there's a lot of weird stuff that sort of goes on in it. A lot of behavior from the characters that just is really questionable. When you start off with the whole scene at the beginning, when somebody fires a couple gunshots in the middle of a crowded theater, why is the immediate reaction, quick, play some music? And then just, let's shuffle everybody out. Let's not worry about the fact that a couple gunshots were fired and maybe somebody's dead. I don't know. Let's get the music playing and calm everyone down.
I think the music was to reduce the panic, to make people a little bit calmer. But yeah, they were like pushing everybody out of the theater. You'd think they'd want to keep people around just in case. One of them was the person firing shots.
What would the odds be of that? And then immediately the female spy is like, "Can I come home with you?" And the Canadian, being from Montreal, "Sure thing, sounds good to me."
I always took that as a really awkward scene with so little setup. But when you put it that way, that he's Canadian, he's probably very polite. When someone says, "Can I come home with you?" you say yes.
I mean, he didn't try to get her into bed or nothing like that, although she did try to sneak into his bedroom afterwards. And then she passed out because of the whole stabbing thing, but we all know what she was thinking. Probably something that had nothing to do with any of that, quite frankly. The whole hiding up against the wall thing so that nobody sees her. But if they're outside, they know you're there. What are you hiding from at this point? And then, okay, I've got a couple guys outside trying to kill me. Bedtime. I'm going to sleep. I can think of nothing better I could do.
I genuinely enjoyed this movie. I thought the beginning was a little clunky. I did warm up to it as it went on. I think there's some genuinely funny stuff in there.
Absolutely. Some hilarious moments.
I think you can kind of see the proto-Hitchcock. You can see a lot of cinematic tricks and shots and narrative things that, seeing other Hitchcock films, you know that they play in later, and this is clearly where he's developing this style. But yeah, there's just too many moments where they show the open window with the curtains flowing, implying somebody has snuck into the apartment. Then Annabelle Smith, the German spy, comes and flops with the knife in her back, holding that map, which begs the question, if you were the guy that snuck in to kill her, why would you leave her with maps with information circled and stuff on it in her fist? Why would you not kill...
Why would you not kill him? Why would you let her stumble around? What are you doing? Did you just stab her and walk out?
It's almost like he had too many stabbings to do that night, and he was a little bit sloppy. Didn't wait to see if she was actually dead before he left. But, like, I understand they were trying to set up the mood and they were trying to, like, move the plot. I just thought it was really clunky. There's so many things. And to say that it's 1935, I don't think is fair, because there are plenty of films in the 30s that are excellent and that have great storytelling. So this one sort of seemed to feature a little bit more style over substance, and I think that scene was a really good indicator of that.
And a lot of that stuff continues on forward. You have the train. The second he sneaks out the side to get back into the train, they pull the stop so that he can actually escape. Why would you pull the stop? That's crazy talk. If he jumped off the train, then he's done for. If he didn't, then you gave him a chance to escape for absolutely no good reason. There's all the times when they can't seem to find him for the most absurd reasons. He's hiding under this perch, and okay, fine and dandy. But when all the sheep come out and they're like, all right, let's just handcuff this person to the woman he sexually assaulted on a train, and everybody, let's go out and deal with these sheep instead
Don't leave
of
anybody
one
in the
person.
car.
Don't leave anybody in the car. No, that would be crazy talk.
To be fair, though, that shot where the car is sitting on that little bridge over that creek and those sheep are all in front of it, like, it's a beautiful shot. Clearly.
There are a number of beautiful shots in this film, just all over the place.
But narratively, yeah, it makes no sense. And then as they're, like, running away and they're trying to crawl over the fence and she's going under and he's going over, like, that was a really great little
slapstick moment.
Bit of physical humor. Yeah, I really enjoyed that. But so much of that chase scene...
They get to the hotel and everyone's pervy in this movie. It's ridiculous. The old lady's like, oh, it's a young couple. Oh, they're going out, screwing around. Good times. And shoos off the two spies who just figured out, wait a second, there's two people who are staying here. Might be a couple. Probably the ones we've been chasing, because apparently we're good enough to catch them after a theater empties out and they hop onto a bus immediately. You can trail them that way, but you can't trail them to the only place anywhere. Or at the very beginning when he's trying to escape from his building and they're standing outside, Milkman goes in, Milkman comes out, somebody shouts about the empties. They don't bother stopping him when he's going to drop off the vehicle right around the block, literally.
They do often do things that don't make sense narratively in order to get in a good joke.
And the joke there, part of the joke is the whole, there's a spy thing going on. I don't believe you. Well, I'm actually helping somebody cheat. Oh, in that case, I got your back, buddy. Bros before hoes, apparently.
I kind of felt like at its core, this movie was sort of trying to be a love story, because they kept coming back to that. But even the romance between the two main characters felt...
Well, it was very fast. It was immediate. The second she learned, oh, he's not lying, it's, aw, I love him. She's just smiling over his sleeping...
But actually, wasn't her husband that politician?
Was she married?
I'd have to go back and check. I thought she was with that politician guy when he was in the scene talking to everybody, addressing the room.
Which was a little bit ridiculous at that point, because he's up there, he's like, well, I'm caught, but you know what? I'm unhappy about this, and I'm gonna shout about it for a little bit. Get everyone on my side for reasons, apparently. Actually, one of the scenes I found very charming was both of them laying in the bed and having that whole scene with making up his whole backstory.
You mentioned the pervy stuff. This movie does have a lot of sexual subtext to it. Like, there's the scene where she's taking off her stockings and she's handcuffed to him, so his hands are kind of like all the way up and down her leg, and he's never quite sure where he should put her hand, and she's telling him not to put his hand there and whatever.
That was awkward and cute, though.
And then he's saying, do you want to take off your skirt? Your skirt's really wet. And he's like, no, I think I'm fine. He's like, I wouldn't mind. That kind of stuff, it's really playful. It's kind of sexy. I think back in 1935, that would have been a little racy and provocative and interesting. And it's still kind of playful and interesting, and I like it. You say pervy, I say sexy.
Well, that scene in particular, I'd call cute and endearing. It's the stuff with, the cheating and, these are the guys running off and, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, know what I mean? That's the stuff I'd call a little bit more along the lines of pervy.
And speaking of cute and endearing, it would endear us to you endlessly if you went to iTunes and supported FYC by rating and reviewing the show. It only takes a second out of your time, out of your day, out of your life.
A second you will never get back, but that we will enjoy thoroughly.
It's easy to do, it really helps us out, and if you leave feedback, we'll make sure to give you a shout out on a future episode. Okay, one of the things I really liked about this movie was there were some structural things in it. As much as the actual story itself I thought had a lot of holes and was kind of clumsy, I did think it was really neat how it started in the theater with Mr. Memory and it ended in a theater with Mr. Memory. It kind of has those bookends and it's very tidy.
I honestly didn't expect to see Mr. Memory again at any point. And quite frankly, the first time they showed him, he was sort of picking and choosing which questions he'd answer, which is exactly how you do it. Because you don't want to be wrong, right? But why would you answer the question, what is the 39 steps? You just got yourself shot, you idiot.
That was really weird. I actually, for a second, thought he might have been hypnotized. Or there was some sort of, keyword or something. Because the way he said it, too, he just started, the 39 steps is a clandestine spy organization, blah, 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 blah.
It's almost like he was semi-autistic and just can't help but answer it because it's just driving him insane, all this information.
I kind of side with that argument because right at the end where he was begging to tell the main character, can I tell you the secret? It's in my head. It was the hardest job I've ever had to do. I need to get this out. And he's like, sure, you could tell me. And then he spills it and then he dies. So I think you might be right that when he heard that, he just wanted to, say it.
Given that his job is to remember and regurgitate facts, to be told, all right, remember this, but don't tell nobody. Also, it's probably underhanded. They might have had stuff on him. They might have had, they were going to smuggle him out of the country that very night. He was retiring, as they said in the first show. So what kind of retirement was that they were talking about? What information did they have on him? There's actually a lot of little sneaky stuff that could be going on there that was not at all mentioned.
Another thing that really stood out to me in the movie was maybe this is just the very proper, polite sort of British, not wanting to be a disturbance, but anytime that there was anybody in a public place, they were so easy to apprehend. Either he's standing on the stage or there was that usher that comes up and says, there's a gentleman here who would like to see you. Instead of just pulling out their guns or whatever they want to do and just dragging them out. It would be handled so much differently nowadays.
SWAT would be in there just shooting everyone with beanbags. It would be ridiculous.
People coming down on cables.
Flashbang grenades.
It felt like a narrative device. I don't want to make the assumption that is a British culture thing, but
as familiar as we are with 1930s Britain.
What did you think of the performances?
There was nothing super spectacular about the acting. The main character I found he seemed to be way too at ease with everything that's going on. There's times when he'd be rather flustered, but when he's just calmly resting there and he's telling this fake story about his life, he's like, whatever, I don't even give a shit right now. I have zero shits to give as to what's going on. He's about to get captured at the rally. He's like, I don't care. All this is stupid. You guys agree with me, right? We want change. we want to have not stupid stuff happen to us, because that would be awesome. Get everyone all riled up. He's like, haha, I win. Some sort of little jab at a victory.
It's true. Every time he ends up in a situation where he has lost control and he's not sure kind of where things are going to go, he doesn't really seem panicked. Like when he ends up at the house with the guy with the missing finger, tip of his finger. The guy shows him the finger, and I mean, we're sitting here and I'm going, dun dun dun. But
he's like, aw, dang.
Yeah,
Jeez, Lou.
He kind of reacted like he went to the ice cream stand for Tiger and they were out. And he's like, oh man, I gotta have like
bubblegum now.
Bubblegum. Crap. And then he has that so awkward, like the most awkward escape that he's planned, where he's looking at the open door and inching towards the door.
And then the guy pulls out the gun, threatens the whole murder-suicide fake thing, and somebody comes up. They're just standing there. He's got the gun out. Yeah, we'll be down in a second. I don't think he'll be joining us. Then they just MacGuffin, they Deus Ex the whole damn thing. They Deus Ex the escape with, he gets shot. There was the Bible in there. There was the clever joke about, yeah, hymns are hard to get through. I understand entirely. And then the wife gets beat, which is exactly what she said wouldn't happen, and I knew exactly would happen.
Oh, that's right. Right after the hymn thing, because he was asking, where's my pocket Bible? And it's like, oh, it was in the coat that I gave to the man that was here. Slap.
Hooray! Spousal abuse. Ha ha ha. Is this a joke? I'm not too sure. It just seems an odd thing for them to have pointed out, not once but twice.
I also got a kick out of the opening bit where he comes into his own home with this spy, and the entire sequence, he's cooking the fish and he's still wearing his coat. He doesn't take his coat off for the entire thing. She takes her coat off eventually, but I would have been shocked or I would not have been surprised if he was in bed still wearing his coat.
I'd also like to point out that the only 2 meals had in the entire movie were both fish.
They were both fish.
These are small details that are completely irrelevant to everything. But
I almost expected you to make a joke about how it's kind of a fishy detail.
That is a bad pun, good sir. Friends off, 5 minutes.
So it looks like we're running out of things to give commentary on, so we'll move into our judgment segment, and we'll go back to you, Dustin. Where do you think this movie places?
This movie is, as a thriller, it does not really succeed. It is not something that brings the thrills and the chills. It is very clunky. There is so many weird Deus Ex things. There's a lot of behavior that just doesn't make sense. It is beautifully shot. The acting is actually fairly good. Some parts not as good as others. It just seems like he might jump around a little bit, but in terms of an actual story and going back to it, it's an entertaining movie, for sure, but probably not entertaining in the way that they were hoping it would be. So, I don't think that this one exactly is this one is not a greatest movie of all time sort of deal. Certainly not number 4 British film. Come on now.
So I have to agree with you. I do think, as entertaining as I found this movie, and as a template for seeing it as a template for kind of all the Hitchcock movies to come after, I can't vote this as a masterpiece or a greatest film of all time, just because it's a very, very awkward movie in so many ways, in too many ways. And it's got a lot of charm. It's got some great cinematography, some great direction, some fun acting, and great little bits to it. But as a whole, especially in the first half of the movie, there's just huge leaps made, and I just can't give it a pass based on that. So I vote no to including this on
our list.
On our list or anybody else's list.
We'll have to hit another Hitchcock film and change his track record for us.
Well, honestly, North by Northwest is on the list, and it's essentially a remake of this film, even down to that wonderful gyrocopter that's in the chase when he's running across the moors.
I did not see that coming at all.
And it never comes back. they just show this weird gyrocopter up in the air, and it's terrible, like, superimposed image. But he did it so much better when he switched it to a crop duster in North by Northwest. And as I said, I'm looking forward to visiting that one. It'll probably get a much more favorable review from me. So I'm sorry, Hitch.
Next time.
The 39 Steps is a no-fly.
You can't see it, but the glare for the bad puns. It exists.
And with that, we bring another episode of FYC to a close. Be sure to check us out on all the social media. We are on Facebook. We are on Twitter at FYC Show. If you have any feedback to leave about this episode in particular, hashtag it FYC 39 Steps. We'll look for your comments there. And if you want to send us a traditional email, text, voice, or video letting us know what you think, our email is fycshowmail@gmail.com. So that's a wrap. Good to have you back, Dustin.
Nice to be back.
You complete me.
That's not awkward.
And looking forward to tackling another movie next week. I'm Mike Josick.
And I'm Dustin Friesenham.
See you next time.
Peace.
There's a little gap there that I'm just gonna snip out. No one's gonna notice it.
I'll notice.
You'll know it's there.